Hello and welcome back to yet another Geek Show, where this episode will be the first one on iTunes. This is your host, Alex Ecker.
This is your host, Dalton Munnell.
This is your host, Josh Keir.
All right, I'm going to start this off real quick, guys, so shut up. iTunes, guys.
That's neat.
Right? I'm so pumped about this.
I've never heard of it.
Me either.
Yeah, I'm looking up.
Anyway.
This is a place where people pay for music.
Really?
It's an interesting concept,
what?
but I don't see it taking off.
Yeah.
Wait, like per song?
Yeah, like per song. I don't.
Like not a subscription?
Yeah,
Whoa.
I guess the draw is that you can download the songs and listen to them offline. But I mean,
And podcasts too?
yeah, I think the podcasts are free.
Oh, well,
Weird.
I mean, I'm doing some quick Googling here, too, and it looks like it's the #1 spot to listen to podcasts. So I guess we're on the right track.
Alex, I think you just accidentally made this sound like a sponsored spot for iTunes.
Hey, iTunes, I'm on to you.
Lord knows they need it because no one's ever heard of
Yeah,
them.
we got your number now. Give us money.
Oh, boy. All right, moving on. Josh, question for you.
What's up?
After last week's episode,
Yes.
did you look up Flash Revolution?
I did not. Did you?
I did.
Okay. Is it out there?
I did. I played for about an hour and a half today.
Oh,
Boy, I
fuck.
missed
And
a
it's
lot.
out
Just as
there.
good?
It is out there, and it is freshly updated, and it's super fun, and it has a critical problem that made me over it already.
They're still updating it? Okay, I guess get to that and then get to the problem.
Yeah, well, they're still updating it. They've switched engines a few times. They add new songs regularly. You can download the program instead of playing in a browser and relying on Flash, which nobody wants to install anymore. And it's super cool, and it's just what I remember. The only problem is I couldn't get the latency to work correctly. It had this weird thing going on where what I was seeing wasn't lining up with what I was hearing. And I spent a good 30 minutes just playing with the settings, trying to get that right. And what'll happen is it can automatically set a delay for how it wants to judge your button presses. So like when you play a song, it'll automatically figure out, well, you're generally this many milliseconds behind, so let's adjust the judging accordingly for your next game. And that worked totally fine, and I could nail it like listening and trying to match the rhythm I was hearing. But if I looked at the screen, that was a different latency setting, and I could not get that to line up, and there wasn't an automated way to do it. So if I actually looked at the top of the screen where, you should be hitting the note as it meets the top, I could not keep the timing because I couldn't get the latency right. So that's a really critical problem for me, especially considering how hard the game gets if you go any higher than easy mode.
Yeah,
But
that's a real bummer.
yeah, but for people that don't end up having that problem and their latency is just fine off the bat, I think it would still be a load of fun. I wish I could enjoy it if not for that problem.
Well, maybe I'll still check it out.
Yeah, no, totally look it up in case you don't have the same issue I did. Alex, do you have any idea what we're talking about?
Not a single clue, dude.
Josh and I both remembered on last week's episode that this game exists, and it's basically DDR, but for a keyboard. We both played it in our youths, just some online Flash game.
Oh.
And it still exists.
Oh, cool. I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah.
It's called
That's
Flash
awesome.
Flash Revolution. Used to play it all the time back in like 2005.
Man, I wanted so hard to be in last week's episode, and I feel like I'm so out of the loop coming back from like 1 week. I don't know how you handled coming right back in after not being in for like 3 weeks, Josh. It's so weird.
Yeah,
Well,
at
you
least
should have
we don't
listened to it, Alex. It's been online for an hour,
Oh, it's been online for an hour? Shit, what am I doing with my life?
maybe two.
I got to go back to being the #1 listener of our podcast again.
I said that during that episode
Oh, really?
that you're our #1 listener.
Oh, wow.
So, Alex, what'd you accomplish with your extra week?
Well, I accomplished getting strep throat, and feeling like garbage for a few good days. I think that's the first time I got strep throat too, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but it still wasn't fun.
Yeah, but this should mean you pulled off like 80 hours of Switch gameplay time. So,
believe it or not, I didn't touch
that
my
get you?
Switch at all.
then why did you bother getting sick?
Seriously.
Well, it gave me a good bit of time to finish Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Okay.
Which I always wanted to finish Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, but I originally finished the first Full Metal Alchemist anime that came out like some odd years ago. That one was really good, but everyone kept telling me, no, watch Brotherhood. It is so much better. It follows the manga. It has so much more detail, and I'm pleasantly pleased with it.
I also haven't actually watched Brotherhood, and it's always been shocking to me that it's supposedly greatly superior given how good the original show already was.
It's phenomenal, dude. The animation, the voice acting is really good. I couldn't even begin to explain. Like there's such layered experiences inside the show. But yeah, no, I didn't like how the first show ended. It kind of ended on a weird note for me, whereas the Brotherhood animation one was it felt complete. It didn't just feel like, oh hey, there's more here, you know, like the first one ended on. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Full Metal Alchemist, not Brotherhood.
Yeah, I've watched the original season, the original series rather, and I'm of the same opinion of you. It really just kind of goes off the rails in the final segment of the story there. And they did eventually come out with like a feature-length movie that's supposed to wrap up that whole plot line, but I still thought that it was way out of left field and just not nearly as good as the ending in Brotherhood. There are still aspects of the first series that I think they executed on that better than Brotherhood. I think the original series does a better job of kind of introducing you to Ed and Al as characters early on. And I also like what the original series does with the homunculi more than what Brotherhood does with them. But overall, Brotherhood's the far superior show, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that in some aspects. Like, I really like what they did with the homunculi in Brotherhood, though, kind of giving them significant roles, whereas in the original Full Metal Alchemist, it kind of felt like they were just there, like they were just kind of like a little bit of spice on top of the cuisine, you know.
I completely disagree, and I don't know how deep I can get into this because we're not spotlighting this, so I don't think I can spoil two entire
Dalton,
shows all
both
at
of them.
once.
Dalton, get strep throat and watch both of them.
Are they both on Funimation?
No, they're actually on Netflix.
Oh.
And Hulu,
well, that'll do.
I think both of them are on Hulu as well.
Well, that'll do. Josh, what do you got?
I do not have a lot this week because I started a bunch of things that I have not been able to finish.
Are you me?
I am. Well, I mean, maybe. Have you ever seen both of us in the same place?
Oh shit, I have.
I mean, only like 8 times, so it could be a fluke.
Yeah, you know what they say: if you can't see them 9 times or more, then they're the same person.
That's really funny because, Josh, I think we've only met once, haven't we?
Yeah. One time, very briefly.
Very, very briefly.
Anyway,
but go on.
I'm finally on the Sekiro train with you guys, so...
Yes.
Nice.
I'm not sure how you guys are liking the game so far, but I am loving it.
Same. I've fucking fell really hard into this game, man.
I played a little bit over the weekend. I spent 2 hours fighting the same boss, didn't beat it, and had a great time.
Yeah.
I have only managed to play it for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, because of my habit of being in the middle of a million games at once. So I'm desperately trying when I'm at my PC to get through Yakuza Kiwami before Yakuza Kiwami 2 comes out in like 2 or 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, so I'm in the middle of like 8 different really long games right now. I mean, I'm still getting through the campaign of Smash Bros. Ultimate that you guys know I started like 2 months ago. I'm still pick up and do a little bit more of that every day.
I'm almost 10 hours into this game, by the way, Sekiro.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting... There was a spot where I got kind of like plateaued and I didn't feel like I was making any progress anywhere. And then I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm going to look up a walkthrough for this one spot. And then after that, like a whole branch of things, you know, just kind of flew out at me. And I'm like, okay, this is really fun now. But yeah, these bosses don't feel stupidly unfair like Dark Souls to me. I thoroughly enjoy it, but I'm also kind of I don't want to say I'm a casual gamer because I'm kind of not. I'm really into the things that I'm into, though. You know what I mean? Like I'm very much into the JRPG era. I'm very much into just single player RPGs in general, but this game hits me in that spot. You know, there's the one thing I really enjoy about this game is there's an actual pause button. So that way mid combat, you can take a break to look at something and not be like stupidly punished for it. Or you have time to re-equip yourself with different items, which is super nice. And that's a big plus in my favor.
I like how you're bringing that up like it's an uncommon feature, but it's really just a feature that's missing from Dark Souls.
Right,
well,
and it's because there are no multiplayer elements at all with Sekiro, which is unique for this the From Software line of games.
Right.
Yeah, I'm at a point where I've been bashing my head against the same boss for a while, but like as I do it, I feel the combat system finally starting to click for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's Lady Butterfly. If you're 10 hours
you're fighting
in,
Lady
you've
Butterfly.
gotten to Lady Butterfly, right?
Oh yeah. I haven't beaten her though. There's a trick that I'm trying to like look for this particular item to help with that fight.
Okay. Yeah. I think I know the item you're talking about. But at any rate, yeah, I keep dying to her. I got really close one time and then died right at the end. Most games that'll just make me like rage quit, but I don't know, the combat in this game just feels so darn good that when I die, I'm like, cool, let me just take another crack at this.
Yeah. I think what softens that blow, though, is when you die, you have the chance to resurrect at least once.
That is a nice mechanic, and I am liking that a lot.
Is that really any different from just having a slightly bigger health bar, though?
I would say so, because if you know you're about to die in one hit, then what's the point of wasting your last healing item when you can die and get half your health back?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I guess it changes your strategy a bit. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You can also stockpile
in terms
multiple resurrections if you do certain things, and there are ways to increase the size of your health bar, which in turn increases the amount of health you get back for resurrecting, because it always fills you up halfway.
Yeah, so I'm basically playing this game because I'm not good at video games, and I want to just get through this monumental task so I can finally say I got good. Even if that takes me 300 hours, I will get good for just this game. I always say I love games, but it doesn't mean I'm any good at them.
Yeah.
So I've got something to prove here, that I'm okay at games.
You're
All right,
playing
well,
the Weenie Hut Jr. of Dark Souls.
I'm not hearing anyone say it's easier than Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I'm hearing people say it's just different, and I'm hearing people say it's way harder. Those are the two reactions I'm getting.
It's harder if you try to play it like it is Dark Souls, because Dark Souls, you beat everything by dodge rolling all over the place and like getting through stuff with invincibility frames, and in Sekiro you win by parrying everything and like last second defending.
Yeah, well, that's where the people are coming from that say, no, it's not harder, it's just different.
It is just different. That's exactly the point I'm making.
There's more strategy involved.
But since we are all three playing this, let's save it for a spotlight.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Let's see. What did I do? Oh, I just right before we got on here was continuing my Game of Thrones rewatch, which, let me tell you, the right way to watch a show is not simultaneously rewatching old seasons and watching the current shows.
Yeah, I can imagine that not being optimal.
Yeah. Let's not talk about the new episodes because we're gonna spotlight that, but I'll say I think it's going great, guys.
Yeah, it is.
I am a huge fan of this new season so far, and I was not a huge fan of season 7.
Wow.
7's probably the only one I have serious complaints about, but I think this next episode is going to be the most difficult episode of television we ever watched.
Yeah, I might not even be able to do a show next week because I might still be crying 3 days later.
Oh, man. Yeah, the next episode.
That's my plan. But in the meantime, I just finished rewatching season 4 right before we got on here. And so far, I think season 4 is the best one. I haven't been saying a lot about the individual seasons, but watching this one, I mean, this is where most of the wildling stuff is. This is Jon Snow going north of the wall. So it's all the wildling stuff and Egret and that stuff is all super good. And you know what? On the off chance that anyone is just starting Game of Thrones, I'm going to try to talk with as few spoilers as possible. But the scene of a particular beloved character being on trial for a particular murder might be the best scene of all television ever. And if someone said, sell me on this show, I might show them that one, just that particular monologue, if you can think of what I'm referring to.
Oh, it is really good.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the death that this character is on trial for, guys, I didn't realize the first time through because I was just celebrating the loss of this particular character. But is that not horrifying? Like, in terms of the makeup, it is the most horrifying on-screen death I've seen.
So purple.
Yeah.
So purple. I didn't know people could turn that color. Maybe they don't, and those were creative liberties. But they almost made me feel bad for him. Not really.
Wow. Yeah.
And then this is where Bran starts to become rather spooky and odd. And man, there are some really brutal fight sequences, particularly involving the Hound and involving the Mountain.
Oh yeah.
Just stuff that's really hard not to look away from.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, I could go on with examples, but you know, I feel like so far, you know, this is a hard season to top, and maybe 8 will do it, but there's just good stuff all over the place. The way the season ends for Tyrion and his, how to explain that without spoilers. You know, Tyrion does some stuff. It's exciting, whatever. So that's all I have to say about that experience.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to being able to talk about season 8.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, without having to refer vaguely to, and then a thing happened.
Yeah, and then some stuff
and it was kind of cool, I guess.
Died and some yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh god.
I finished season 3 of Superstore and realized I really need to turn off the autoplay on my Hulu because I kept using this as my fall asleep on the couch TV show. And then I keep waking up and having to figure out what episode I was actually on.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one that has a fall asleep on the couch TV show.
Mine used to be Futurama, just because I've watched it so many times that like it didn't matter which episode I was watching at any particular time.
Well, according to Hulu, I finished season 4 of this a week ago, but I actually finished season 3 yesterday.
Okay.
So I got to fix that.
Yeah.
Season 3, I mean, the show doesn't really go through any big changes, so it's hard to bring it up and say anything noteworthy for each season, but I'll say it keeps getting better. They keep getting better ideas of what they're doing, and I think this season started to work with more like ongoing forward-moving plots. Like it feels a little bit less one-offy. It's turning into a little bit of a different kind of sitcom in that regard, and I always appreciate that. Just it feels like there's more forethought going into where the characters are going.
I still really need to start watching this show.
I still really recommend it. I started out with a really weak recommend, but I am really enjoying it now.
Good. I'm glad you're coming around to liking it as much as I did. I kind of had the same sort of journey as you did with the show, Dalton, in that like the first few episodes was like, all right, this is okay. But as I continued to watch it, it kept getting better. I think that once the show really finds its stride, it gets really good.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the showrunner just left.
Oh.
Justin Spitzer. I don't know. I don't actually know who he is, but his name's on the opening credits every time, and apparently he just left. So we'll see how the show keeps going after that. But I guess the same writers are staying on. Maybe they became the showrunners. So I mean, I saw some people optimistic that it would still be good because the same writers are still there.
Mm-hmm.
So at least there's that. Or, you know, it could ruin it like it did Community. We'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of shows and actors and stuff, I'm not going to name any names, but a friend of mine just got a part in an Amazon TV, an Amazon Prime show.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. The show is called Mafia Ties.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't out yet, I don't believe. I've been trying to follow the IMDb to see if his name is in the cast yet, but like,
I didn't know you had any friends that were trying to act.
Yeah, I didn't know either. This particular friend, we kind of grew up together. Like we went to the same school. I'd see him every now and again when I worked at my last job. But yeah, I just was on Facebook one day and they were like, "Hey, I'm going to be in this TV show." And I was like, "Whoa, holy shit. Like being in an Amazon Prime show is a big deal, especially for like a first role." Yeah. So keep your eyes out for Mafia Ties. He didn't ask me to do this and I haven't congratulated him yet, but if he's listening, hey, seriously, good work. Keep it up, man. I'm looking forward to watching your show.
Well, maybe we'll have him on after a season airs. That
would be really cool, actually.
That'd be great.
I'll get in touch with him about that.
Well, since the episode's going this route, I'm glad to announce that I was just cast in an HBO show.
Yeah.
You know, one of the prequel spinoffs to Game of Thrones.
How naked do you have to get?
So I'm very excited about that. All of it, of course. And so maybe you guys will have me on the show after that gets released.
I think that'll be the time we kick you out.
Yeah, I don't really know if I want you on the show, Dalton.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I did watch a Netflix original during my time of being sick, though.
Okay.
It was called Black Summer.
Go on.
Okay. I was waiting for somebody to be like, "Oh, I heard about it."
No, nope.
I guess not.
I haven't.
Thanks, guys. Way to have my back. No.
Oh, I haven't heard about it.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, let me tell you about it. It's kind of one of the zombie apocalypse shows. Like shit just kind of breaks loose out of nowhere, and you follow these few characters. It kind of feels like how The Walking Dead should have been. For one, the big thing with me is the first season of the show, because there's only one season. There's no music whatsoever like the first season of The Walking Dead did, which The Walking Dead failed to continue that trend, which pissed me off because it ruined the realism kind of engagement of it, you know?
You know, it's been years since I watched season 1 of The Walking Dead, but I did not pick up on a lack of music.
Really?
Today, that's probably something I would notice, but I did not pick up on that at the time.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. To my knowledge, there was no music in season 1, and same thing with Black Summer. It's a zombie thing, of course. So there's not too much to talk about. It's all kind of obvious, you know, people trying to survive and get away, but it feels very real. It's not following a guy who already has a gun and experience with guns. It's just regular ass people who, you know, have to run from these things and hopefully get away. These zombies kind of seem smarter, and they don't just like run away and disappear. They'll fucking follow them for like minutes in a scene. Which
is this comparable to how like Unbreakable was taking a genre and doing it more realistically?
I would, yeah, okay, yeah. I would potentially say so. But like the biggest thing to me was like, even though it's clearly something like Dalton and we've played like games like Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 hours on end. We were, landing on our necks in comic book pages of The Walking Dead and doing all this zombie stuff. And we both kind of got sick of it, I'd like to think.
Oh, yeah.
This show actually gave
Zombieland 2 this year is going to be my first zombie media in a long time, I think.
Yeah. That would have been the same for me until I watched Black Summer. Black Summer, actually watching it was giving me genuine anxiety because I'm like, oh no, run. You know what I mean? Like half the time, because like it felt pretty damn real. And the nice thing is like, it was more real because like one of the characters didn't even speak English. They spoke specifically an Asian language. I couldn't tell you which. Or one of the characters was deaf and couldn't understand anything, and none of the people knew sign language or a common tongue to speak with them. It was really good. So I genuinely recommend it. It was really good, and it's not that many episodes, and it's kind of a page turner. You'll kind of want to keep watching it without Netflix just automatically auto playing it for you.
Good. Speaking of comic books, I read one.
Oh.
Josh, you've actually flipped through and breezed through this, at least. Not properly read it,
Okay.
But I went back and read for the second time the Adventure Zone Volume 1, There Be Gerblins.
So good.
If you're listening to a podcast, you probably already know what the Adventure Zone is.
Yeah, it's a fair bet.
Yeah, pretty fair bet, or that you at least know who the McElroy brothers are. So, so the Adventure Zone is their podcast of playing D&D, and I love it, and it got me into playing D&D, and it's hilarious, and this graphic novel is just straight up an adaptation of the first arc of their podcast, adapted by Clint McElroy, the father to the McElroy brothers. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad I don't have the book sitting next to me to tell you who did the art, but I can tell you it's gorgeous, and I'll make sure to have that name ready when I read the second volume.
Or you can edit or Dalton it.
Is either out or coming out very soon.
Yes, it's out already, and I have to make sure to order it. I think it's out already. But man, the book is gorgeous. It adapts. It does a really good job adapting it and kind of like reworking the humor for this different format. Like the jokes have to be presented to you very differently, but they still work. Just in terms of, maybe something that was funny that was spoken out of character, they have to find a way to make that come out of the actual characters and still be funny, or they take advantage of being able to work with facial expressions and body language that we don't normally have to make it funny. I really enjoy this meta element of using Griffin the DM as a character, so he's the only like actual person that breaks the fourth wall, and all the players are just the characters. They never really speak out of character. So they have a lot of fun with that. And I think it would have been really easy to butcher trying to do this improvised story in a different, in any different format, like adapting it to whether it's comic, novel, something filmed, whatever. I think it would have been really easy to mess up, but I think they really nailed it. I think someone would have a lot of fun with this, even if they're not familiar with the Adventure Zone.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I obviously didn't get as much of a chance to spend a lot of time with it as you did, because I just kind of flipped through your copy the last time I was at your house. But I got to agree with you. I think from what I was able to see, that it was a very good adaptation. They did a really good job translating a just audio medium into visual and still making it funny. The art was fantastic, and it made me come away with it wanting to pick up that volume, and then also any subsequent volumes, which the second arc has just come out, which is a great one that I'm actually really looking forward to seeing. So I either got to pick that up for myself or go piggyback off of yours as soon as you do it again.
Okay, I just stepped away from my computer to grab the book so that I could do him some honor and say that the art is by, if I pronounce this correctly, Carrie Peach, Pietsch, Pietsch. It appears he contributed to, well, he did all the art, and it appears he contributed to the writing. It says adaptation by Clint McElroy and Carrie Peach. And so I'm going to look up more of this guy because this art is straight up wonderful. I have to see what else this guy's done.
Yeah. See, I don't normally buy comic books unless it's the Power Ranger comic books and maybe some My Hero Academia, because I'm just a nerd and, you know. But if I can find this like on Google Play Books, I might actually buy it because people don't know this about me, but I have a condition called hyperhidrosis, which means don't let me touch your comic books because I will ruin them.
Oh, that reminds me. Give me my Infinity Gauntlet back.
Yeah, that's why I haven't read it. Yeah, so I buy them digitally. So
yeah. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I started Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Okay.
Are you far enough that you should bother talking about it? Because it's a pretty lengthy game.
I only want to mention it because I haven't ever played a Metal Gear Solid game.
Mm-hmm.
And you started with the last one.
Right.
Makes sense.
Because
I get it.
There's so much history there. Because how old is this game franchise? It's over a decade, isn't it? Like over 2 decades.
It's NES
The
days.
Metal Gear franchise started on NES.
Yeah, so...
Well, technically before that, NES was a port. It was on... it was a PC-based game on a PC that was called the... I want to say the MSX or something like that. It was a Microsoft thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that in front of me, but yeah, it started out on a PC-based system.
Damn.
I'm actually...
Did not know that.
I'm Googling it. This game was released in 1987. So 30 years. Over 30, right? Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Original game was on the MSX2.
Mm-hmm.
I have only played the NES version. What's interesting is I would bet, for obvious reasons, way more people have played the NES version than the MSX2 version.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is the NES version's not canon. Kojima wasn't involved in the NES port. I want to say this is true of Metal Gear 1 and 2. Was Metal Gear 2 on the NES also?
I thought they were all Kojima productions.
Yeah, so Kojima had nothing to do with this NES game, and it's actually the only one I've played, and it is not canon.
Okay. See, instead of going back and, doing all of it, playing from start to finish, I started with this one and watched a recap of somebody talking about this game. And of course, since I'm super impatient, I watched a video where they were like, we're going to explain the entire Metal Gear history in 7 minutes. And I immediately fell in love with the story. And even though I did start Metal Gear Solid 5, I am going to go back after I beat this one and try the other ones. Even if I don't complete them, I might just watch somebody else play them and get the feel for it, because I know there's a lot of story impact. Like, this is a very story driven game. And I know I started with the last one, but man, it's very, very interesting to say the least. So yeah. I recommend it so far. I'm not that very far into it, but I really like it. If you haven't played it, the game is 4 years old now, I think. I think it started, I think the game came out in 2015, but it still looks really damn good, especially on a PC that has a 2650 by 1440p monitor. So Dalton, I'm looking at you, man.
This is a franchise that I've always wanted to get into, but there is no way I'm not starting it from the top.
I remember you telling me that.
Which is why I've only played the very first game, which I did not know at the time was different from the actual canon MSX2 game.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy, much like Kingdom Hearts, I want to enjoy the challenge of seeing if I can understand the story without it being explained to me. I hear so much about how convoluted and complicated it is, and I just want to know if I can get it without help. It's not even because I think I'd like it.
Oh, dude.
I don't care about stealth games.
You're in a world of hurt now. I'm holding you to that. Oh, good fucking luck, buddy.
I mean, if I realize 3 games in that I'm totally lost, I'm going to start looking up YouTube summaries. So the challenge is over at that point.
Are you talking about Metal Gear or Kingdom Hearts? Because you're going to be lost on the first game, dude.
Both?
Okay.
Both. Kingdom Hearts, I'm still holding out hope for a PC port. So we'll see when we get there.
I have Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3 on console. I think the first 2 I have are on PS3, and then I have obviously the PS4 version of it, but you're more than welcome to borrow them, dude.
Nope, don't care. It's going to show up on PC. I'll bet money on it. It won't be next year. Maybe it'll be in 5 years, but it's going to happen.
Hopefully soon you can be betting that sponsorship money.
Jeez. All right.
iTunes, where you at?
Okay, that was all the media I consumed. Well, that I finished enough to talk about, but I have discussion subjects to bring up. So if anyone has any more pieces of media before I get into that.
I've started playing Shadow of the Colossus for the first time.
Oh, my heart. PS2, PS3, or PS4?
PS3.
Okay. Good man.
Because that's
which
the
is
one
just
that
a
Kyla
port
had,
of PS2, right?
We were bored. We were looking for something to do. And she asked me if I'd ever played Shadow of the Colossus. I said no. She said, well, shut up. You're playing it now.
I second that movement.
I wish my wife ever told me, shut up, you're playing a video game now.
Right?
I guess you've played it, Alex. Dalton, have you ever played this game before?
Yes and no. Alex has been bothering me to play it for years. And I initially tried to play it in a PS2 emulator that wasn't working well at the time, but I could easily run now. And then last year I did borrow Alex's PS4 with that game, but I used it to play through Detroit Become Human and then Spider-Man. And at that point, I didn't want to keep holding his console hostage any longer, so I didn't get to it.
Okay.
I've beaten the game in about 4 hours, dude.
Well,
yeah, that happens when you know it front to back.
Well, then that's when I bring my PS4 over to your house and play it for you so you can understand it.
I got about 3.5 hours into it over the weekend, and I've beaten 5 Colossi, so I think you're winning the race there.
Yeah,
Alex, I know I just said I'm not going to watch you play a game, but hey, watch out for the launch of yet another Let's Play sometime soon where you can watch Alex play a game with me.
Yeah, the first console game we're doing, well, on an actual console, sorry, is going to be Shadow of the Colossus now, dude.
Yeah, no official announcements, but we'll see.
No, that's very official.
Okay.
So initial impressions of this game, because I obviously haven't finished it yet, I can already understand why it's considered such a classic. It's really unique. I can tell it was super unique for its time, and to this day, I don't think there's been any other game quite like it. The closest comparison I can actually make to Shadow of Colossus might be the Monster Hunter franchise. And even that, thematically and even gameplay wise, doesn't actually come close. It's just the only other game franchise I can think about where, the grand majority of the content is just basically boss fights with giant monsters.
If you look at it from that angle,
I'm playing the PS3 version. I don't know when that came out. I don't know when the original PlayStation 2 game came out. I think it was the mid
2007.
2007?
I want to say it was 2007.
Okay.
So I think the PS3 version is just the PS2 version in HD, and then the PS4 is a full-blown remake.
Oh, sorry, it was 2005. And yes, Dalton, you're correct.
2005.
The PS4 version was a complete remake.
Okay, I would be interested to try out the remake after this because the game is, at least on the PlayStation 3 when I'm playing it now, it's definitely showing its age in that the camera is unbearable. It's like Kingdom Hearts 1 level bad.
Yeah.
And the controls are slightly clunky. Not enough.
If you played the PS2 version of it, you would understand how hard and frustrating it was because there was so much motion blur and the frame rates would dip in and out like mad. But the PS3 version really did fix a lot of that. Have you seen anything about the PS4 remake, Josh?
I remember watching a clip of somebody playing it right around when it was coming out because this has always been a game that I've been very interested in playing and thought that I should have played a very long time ago and never got around to it. When it came out, I didn't own a PlayStation, so I just kind of missed the initial boat, and there have always been so many other games to play that I never really quite got around to it. So anyway, back then I remember it looking very pretty, but because I had never played the game before, I didn't have a whole lot of context as to what was going on in the clip I watched. I now see that it was a clip of the bird Colossus that I just beat, and that bastard took me forever to kill.
He's one of my favorites, man.
He was one of my favorites, except for the fact that every time you fall off of him, you have to like literally hold forward on the control stick for 4 fucking minutes as you slowly swim back towards like land to start the fight again, because they didn't decide to put in a swim faster button, and that's one of my like biggest pet peeves with any game that includes swimming.
Alex, I watched my brother-in-law fight that one, and it's probably the reason I haven't actually tried the game since.
It's really easy once you know that when he hangs you upside down, you have to let go because he'll just wear you out until you do. But you can swim faster. All you have to do is hold R1 underwater and he'll swim faster.
Going underwater is faster than swimming on the surface?
Yep, absolutely it is.
I'm sure there's going to be other underwater fights that I have in while I finish up the game, so that's good to know.
And Josh, also, I know this is gonna be annoying, but at every shrine that you can like pray at and save your game, there's always gonna be a white-tailed lizard. Use your bow and kill it, and then grab its tail when it dies, because that'll increase your stamina.
It's only the white-tailed lizards that do that?
Only the whitetail.
Okay, that explains why I killed like 35 fucking lizards and haven't seen anything happen.
And there are certain trees that have fruit. If you eat them, it'll give you more health, like permanently increase your health.
Trees, so I've been doing that. But the lizards haven't been noticeably increasing my stamina, so I think I've just been like placebo affecting. Yeah, I think it goes down slower now because I spent an hour and 15 minutes hunting lizards, but I guess only the white-tailed ones matter.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Only those ones do.
All right, well, that's good to know. For the future,
Tip for all you Shadow of the Colossus players out there right now, use that. There you go.
All in all, I'm really enjoying it, and I definitely intend on finishing it. So maybe that's all I'll say for right now.
Yeah.
Dalton needs to play it so we can spotlight it.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things I need to play so we can spotlight it.
Anyways, Dalton, your discussion?
Okay. This is about Disney and the upcoming Disney Plus. Before I jump in, quick comment. We didn't bring up before that they rehired James Gunn.
Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah.
We unfortunately, the big conversation we had about that was in episode 0.
Yeah, which never aired.
So no audience has heard that, but we had spent a lot of time discussing our feelings about that. And even though I think it's like a month later now, I'll just throw out there, I'm really glad they did the right thing and brought him back.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm trying to bring up right now. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the announcement that on the Disney Plus streaming service, Disney is going to be doing a bit of self-censorship and removing the more, let's say, untimely elements of Dumbo and not releasing Song of the South at all.
Really?
Any thoughts?
Ooh.
This is news to me.
Yeah.
Is Dumbo the only film they're doing this with, or?
This is the only one I saw named.
Okay. I'm sure it's not.
I would think Peter Pan would have to come up too, right?
Yeah.
I would think Peter Pan would have to come up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's a bunch of them that are gonna have that self-censor.
And there's Fantasia, but that one's been edited on home media forever.
Yeah.
So that's not a new one. This Dumbo thing's a new one.
You know,
My gut reaction is, why would you pay money to watch an inferior product that's been cut? Like, I don't know. Maybe inferior is the incorrect way to phrase that. I'm not really sure that. I mean, yeah, there may have been problematic elements of earlier works, but I also think that it's okay to look at something from a period and just know know that, you know, you have to view it through the lens of where the world was when it was made at the time.
Right. Yeah. And even then, like, if this Disney service is going to have kids in mind, maybe have 2 different versions of it on your service to where, you know, one to have like an educational principle where you could be like, hey, this is actually what happened and why this is not okay now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So firstly, I'll say, to my recollection, not that I've watched it recently, but to my recollection, I think for that time period, Dumbo falls pretty low on the amount of offense to me.
Are they like cutting the scene
from my memory?
Dumbo gets like drunk or whatever, and there's the pink elephants running around, and it's really trippy.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that's incredible, but I'm referring to the crows, if you remember. So.
Oh yes.
And so this is a group of, I think it's 4 of them, 4 crows that are jive talking jazz dudes. And they're the ones that teach Dumbo how to fly. So there's plot significance here. The most unfortunate thing about it, besides that it's a white voice actor doing an impression of a jive talking jazz man, is that they had to go and name him Jim Crow. I don't remember if the movie ever actually says it or if that's just in the credits that's his name. I saw someone claim it wasn't in the movie, and I don't remember for sure.
Yeah.
But they claimed they're cutting something involving that character. They can't cut those characters completely because they teach them how to fly. They're vital to the plot.
Yeah.
And they contribute to a really big song in the movie. And so they're not cutting them completely. I guess just certain small moments of it. Maybe just if they say his name, maybe it's just the acknowledgement of his name. But to me, I feel like, you know, for what we've seen in that era, this falls pretty low on the offense to me because it feels more insensitive than racist in the sense that it doesn't teach anything bad about black people. Actually, like I remember those characters being really, you know, like likable. Like they kind of make fun of Dumbo, but you know, they teach him how to fly and they believe in him, and they're generally pretty cool dudes that, you know, we're not supposed to dislike them. And it's not like they drew like minstrel blackface on them. They just unfortunately made the decision to call one of them Jim Crow, which you know, which has a historical significance in blackface minstrel shows.
Right.
But I guess I find it less offensive than Peter Pan, though.
It's been a long time since I've seen Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Same.
So I'm going from memory. Maybe this is worse than I remember it. But in any case, Warner Brothers, with some of their less time appropriate Looney Tunes cartoons, they've released them on home media before, unedited, with a disclaimer in front of them that, you know, it is what it is. We don't want to pretend this didn't happen. You know, this did happen and everyone should know about it. So here it is, unedited.
Good on them to do that.
Which, you know, is super cool. I really like that they do that.
You know,
but I think provided that there is a way to see the original Dumbo and whatever other movies get edited, I don't think that Disney is obligated to do the same thing. If only because here's the thing is, if I'm watching these Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoons that do not age well, I'm probably an adult that bought those out of my own interest and curiosity, like,
or nostalgia.
Yeah, it's me being an adult and being interested in the history of this thing and wanting to enjoy these old cartoons. I'm not buying this for my kids, generally speaking.
Yeah.
But this Disney Plus service is being pretty strictly marketed as something for kids. And at the end of the day, a 5-year-old's not going to read or listen to a disclaimer about the historical inappropriateness, and they're not going to understand what you're talking about either. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know what age I was before I realized there was anything offensive going on in Dumbo. But if someone popped up on the screen to explain to me, hey, I know this movie's problematic, but, you know, we don't want to hide our history. And so it is what it is. Here's how America at the time thought. And, you know, let's learn from this. I would have no idea what the hell you were talking about, and I wouldn't care.
To
as
be
a small
fair,
child.
though, it's more for the parents' sake for them to explain why these things are wrong. I don't think it's Disney's kind of thing to be like, hey, kid.
Okay, but so that was the second point I was going to get at. We can talk about the idea that, you know, parents should be responsible for their own kids and everything. But if I don't happen to be familiar with these controversial elements,
right,
I should feel pretty safe in paying for Disney Plus and handing it off to my kids.
Yeah, because I mean, it's in the name. It's Disney. How hard could it, or how harmful could it be?
Yeah, I'd be pretty disappointed if I got this Disney service, wasn't intimately familiar with everything the company's ever done, and then realized, no, I still have to watch everything in advance before I decide if it's okay for my kids and explain it to them.
There's a lot of paradigm shifts that come along with Disney's service, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and so what I would really like to see Disney do is, I think ultimately the idea is they don't want to be accused of profiting from racism today.
Right.
It's, you know, if I had to take a shot in the dark, I would like to see them make these uncut versions available somewhere on the internet for free so that they're not profiting, and in a place where kids wouldn't easily find it. That way, the historical integrity can easily be kept intact. I mean, for now, we can still go buy the Blu-ray or DVD unedited, but, you know, that's not always going to be the case. I would like to see everything readily available. Actually, you can't buy Song of the South on any modern medium or see it on any streaming service. And like, you know, it's Disney's property, and I don't think they're morally obligated to make it available to us, and especially not to profit off of it.
Right.
But I just think it would be nice to see if they decided, hell, sell it to Criterion. Let the Criterion collection release it for film buffs to analyze and learn something out of.
Yeah. It's not there to be entertaining. It's there to be educational. You know, that's a really good approach to honing up to their mistakes and having people understand it.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, these things aren't ever going to disappear from human history.
No.
There will always be ways to obtain these things on the internet if Disney doesn't want to officially provide them.
Right.
So I'm not concerned about that, but I would like to see them help keep those things around. I don't think they're obligated to. I just would like to see it. And if I were them, I would also make the decision to edit these things before I put them on my service, but I would come up with another way for the adults to see the originals as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I just really don't think that the originals should be lost because of the historical significance.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. And then, like, the offense in, you know, there's also the different levels of offense. I don't really know what's offensive about Song of the South. I've never seen it. I mentioned Fantasia's been edited for a long time, and that had a really direct, obvious, inarguable instance of racism that, let's keep this far away from where our kids are going to accidentally watch it. Yeah. But Dumbo, I don't know. I guess if I were them, I would edit it just to be safe, but I'm also not really offended by it. I'm not personally worried about my kids seeing it in the future because I don't know that it's inherently insensitive to just have characters with a dialect, you know? Like just if it weren't for just the fact that they used the name Jim Crow and that they unfortunately had a white dude do the voice, isn't it really just taking a dialect of America that exists, and maybe they exaggerated it, but it's taking a dialect that existed at the time and portraying that, and I don't think that's inherently racist.
No, it was
Foghorn Leghorn is an exaggeration of a particular white dialect, and I don't think it's offensive, but it's just they made a really bad move in calling it Jim Crow.
Yeah, no, that was
that's
a really bad move.
legendarily awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were so close to it not really being a big deal.
Right.
But if that name is the thing that really ruins it, I'm not really scared of it corrupting my kids.
Yeah, and you have to go back into entertainment, like look at sitcoms on TV. Sometimes people wouldn't understand a joke unless there was the canned laughter there, or they wouldn't understand that it was a joke, or they wouldn't necessarily get the full picture of what they were doing if they didn't inflect or embellish, and that was the style of entertainment.
Are you talking about the exaggeration of the voice, the over the top?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that racism is okay. No.
It's exaggerated because it's a cartoon, not exaggerated because this is how we think black people talk.
Right. It was inflected on and embellished because it needed to capture an idea in a ridiculous way.
Yeah. So, I mean, is anyone offended by Sebastian in The Little Mermaid?
No.
Maybe someone is, but, it's a character with an accent and a dialect, and I don't think it's a problem. It's just they screwed up with the name.
Right.
And probably shouldn't have made a white dude do it. But maybe I shouldn't waste any more time defending the insensitivity of a movie I haven't actually watched in years. Maybe I'm going to watch it and be horrified by what I've said in this episode when it's worse than I remember.
You may want to watch the movie in the time before this episode goes up.
But
and then we'll hone up to our mistakes, unlike Disney. Yeah. Ooh, burn.
But Disney, I don't know if I would have made exactly the same choices, but I don't find it disagreeable either. I support your stance here. I'm cool with it.
You've kind of talked me away from my gut reaction, I think.
Yeah. I think I like your idea of there being both instances where you can see the version that history had and then see the redacted version for saving face, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. So with that, I think we're about done. And by the time you're hearing this, we've watched Endgame, and you can look forward to a spotlight on that.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for listening.
And we probably watched Dumbo and are really, really sorry about everything we just said defending it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, too. Till next time, guys.